Hello and welcome to the Unlucky Few. For those of you who don't know me, I am the DM of this little D&D group here, Elizabeth, and today we will be recording and sending out the very last of our session zeros for this campaign, and that would be that of Mr. Fendiun Rune, played by the wonderful Audie.
Hello.
Right, so all the introductions were done in the first one, so we will now jump right into our play here. So, first and foremost, would you like to describe your character to the audience?
Sure. So, Fendiun is like a very tall, skinny drow with kind of like dusty, dark blue skin. He wears very bright, like yellow, white, and orange clothing. Like he looks like a fashion disaster, but in the most beautiful way. And he always smells really good because he likes to make perfume. And he also always smells. He smells like a mixture between perfume and like a little chemically, but usually perfume covers it. Oh, and he has a really cool sword. Wait. That's all I can think of.
All right. And so, this day starts very early in the morning. Fendiun is just waking up in his own home. If you would like to give a brief description of his house, because it doubles as the place that he does business from, yes.
Oh, here I am waking up in my library/home. Just going to go make some tea. Whoops, it's, in case I haven't said this out loud before, as I go through my morning routine, my house is very cluttered. I need to walk side to side like this to get through everything. And now I'm eating breakfast. His house is very cluttered. It's just filled with books. Books.
His house doubles as his place where he works. He sometimes tutors locals in the very basics of magic, as he himself is...
He's like a noob. He knows, like, magic theory. He teaches kids, like, magic theory, and he's like, alright, you know the basics, now go to college and do better than me. And he's been doing it for 60 years.
Yes. And not only that, but his house also serves as a library of sorts, so Fendiun is very into books. Fendiun, not Fendiun.
It's
Fendiun.
Okay. I know, the letters get mixed around. Oh, yes, Fendiun Rune, good show.
All right, so...
I imagine he's, like, eating breakfast, sipping tea, reading a book.
And as you're eating breakfast, your morning is starting fairly normally. You do not have any students coming in to teach today, so for the most part you have the day to yourself. It is still... The sun is just rising, but since it is late summer, bleeding into early fall here, it's only 5 or 6 a.m. as all of this is happening.
There's nothing I love more than a regular day with no surprises.
You begin to feel a faint buzzing in the back of your head. Not so much to be painful, but certainly slightly annoying.
Perhaps I didn't coif my hair quite right. I just start smoothing my hair back. It's very slicked back and well kept.
As you continue on with your breakfast, you go to blink, and your eyes stay shut for about a second longer than normal, and you catch, there's just an image in your brain of your sword, and then you open your eyes again, and everything is normal, but the buzzing is still there.
Perhaps this is what I read about those intrusive thoughts. Oh, I'm sure it's nothing. I'm gonna go about my day just tidying up the library and everything like that.
You go to get up from your seat, you blink again. It once again lasts a bit longer than a standard blink, and in this one you see a very, very small ruined building surrounded by some trees, but also right next to a clearing. And then you open your eyes again, and you are still in your house. The buzzing seems to have gotten a little bit more urgent sounding. Still not painful, but almost impossible to ignore at this point.
I pinch myself to see if I'm dreaming. Perhaps it's just a bad one. Nope, I'm awake. Oh, perhaps there's something funny in that tea. Oh, I'm sure it's fine, whatever. He's just making weird sounds as he's going about his day. Trying to ignore whatever's happening, because he has a feeling whatever's happening, it's something that he doesn't want to happen.
You go to tidy up one of your bookshelves, and as you go to blink once more, this time your eyes stay closed for about 5 full seconds, and it shows you the sword, and then it shows you the place where you were when you found the sword, then it shows you the ruined building once more, and then you open your eyes again. Your eyes closed for about 5 or 6 seconds at this point. And at this point, the buzzing is starting to become slightly painful, like a minor headache in the back of your skull.
Oh, I'm not too fond of this. Perhaps I should just get a good walk about the city. Just a good step out the front, fresh air. I don't like what's going on at all. Don't like to be remembered of those places.
Before you can even reach the front door, you blink again. The sword again.
He's just like...
The place where you found the sword again. The ruined building again. The place where you found the sword for a second time. And then a tavern that you remember seeing in the Dust Town part of this district, as you live on the docks, not outside of the gates.
Mm-hmm.
And then finally you see a small object on a stone floor that appears circular. You open your eyes again, and at this point the buzzing is intrusive at best, potentially migraine causing at worst, as you are still standing in front of your front door. And finally, on the window right above one of the countertops of your kitchen, you hear on the glass. Do you turn to look?
I like slide over to look. I'm like very cautious.
Perched on one of the panes, one of the wooden panes, and pecking on the glass is a small blackbird.
Would I like understand what that possibly means, given all the clues that just happened in my brain?
You have some sort of idea that whatever might be happening might be tired of you fighting the buzzing noise and has decided to use other means.
All right, very well, very well. What do you want? Make it quick, come on.
You open the window?
Yeah.
The blackbird flies in, does a lap around the main room.
Be careful of the books!
And then finally settles down, perched on one of the books that is sitting on the floor.
Don't poop on it. That'd be a very bad show.
A very bad show.
Oh my, I didn't expect you to actually talk. I thought it was just the old boy was going crazy.
You have heard this voice before. Exactly one other time.
Oh.
You would recognize this as the voice of the goddess Shar, who gifted you both with magic and the ability to leave where you once were from.
Long time no talking. How's it going? I'm so glad you didn't forget about me.
You know, if I didn't know any better, I'd almost say that you were being a little facetious with your comments.
My lady, of course not. Oh, down with Mr. If...
Right. Maybe hold off on that one
for
now.
Yes, never mind. Neutral at Mr. Tea? Do birds drink tea? Balderdash, I'll make you one anyways.
The bird politely sips the tea.
Alright,
No, I'm not even gonna let that be your first roll.
What do I owe this pleasure to, my lady? My queen of darkness. Hello.
I am beginning to question my own decision-making skills, but regardless, as you said, it has been a while since we have caught up. I hope you are happy with your end of the bargain that you received from this pact still.
Yes, very good, occasionally get a few rabble-rousers that don't like knocking on my door, but, it's good to not be underground.
Indeed, and it seems you are appreciating your magical abilities as well.
Yes, I figure, while I don't know much currently, I can at least pass on what little I know to, the children and whatnot, because, learning is good. And I've
yes, well, there is something now that I need you to do for me, but you know me, I'd like to think of myself as a fair sort of goddess, and I would not want this to benefit only me. So, I believe it is time for you to strike out and learn a little bit more and grow a little bit stronger. How does that sound?
Like going up to the rich district, right? Not leaving the city, sort of thing.
No, you will need to leave the city for this. Though
I would be happy to do so.
Though
looks like he's having a small panic attack.
Though not too far, and also the wood should provide enough shade that it shouldn't completely disadvantage you.
I just go like this. That's how I've made it the past 60 years.
Right. Well, there's something I need you to get for me, and along the way, well, I have a hunch about you, and we will see how that goes.
Is there a map?
You do not need a map, for I can guide you.
Oh, well, that works too. So, when are we doing this? A month from now? 3 weeks? Next year?
The sun is still young in the sky.
Oh, you mean right now? Well, you see, it's 1:30. I don't have anything to do today, so I guess I'll go do that. Haha, good show. He's just like, wheezing a lot because he's nervous. Just go into my bedroom to get my traveling gear. You don't wait up. I'll be out in a moment. I take my sweet time walking back to my room, and then I slowly put on my armor and get my sword. Stiff upper lip, old boy. All right, I'm ready.
When you come back in, the bird is kind of just sitting on the countertop near the window where it came in. It turns back to look at you one last time. Well, then I shall be going for now. For the moment, you are heading out of the city to the Cloakwood, nearby. You would know the Cloakwood as a forest that probably sits only maybe a couple of miles, a mile or two outside of the city limits of Baldur's Gate. It is comparatively where you could go along the Sword Coast, a very short walk.
Well,
you do know what you are looking for, right?
The building. The building?
The building. And what inside the building?
The circle. Like on my plate? Like on my plate now? Symbol? Your symbol? On the floor?
It wasn't a symbol. It was an actual, what you saw when you closed your eyes was a circular artifact.
Oh, okay, like a disc or something.
Yes, sitting on the floor of this building.
The disc. It won't kill me if I touch it, will it?
Not at all. It is not cursed or enchanted in any way. Well, it is enchanted, but not in a way that harms the user.
Milady, could I be expecting anybody else to be in pursuit of this at the same time in which I am in pursuit of it?
I do not believe so, for it is something that is only connected towards me, and I have not sent anyone else for this object.
Well, cheerio, let's go. And I'm going to look very confident as I'm leaving my home, but I'm internally sweating and very nervous because I haven't left the mile radius of the city in once again 60 years.
As you're walking out the door, she says, "And one last thing. Remember, I would not have gifted you with these abilities, and I would not be sending you on this mission if I did not believe you would be successful."
Of course, thank you.
And then she flies out and is gone.
That's him locking all of the locks on his doors on his 5 foot by 5 foot of a home. All right, here I go. And he takes his sweet time getting to the end of out of the city because he's very nervous.
All right, so you reach the edge of the city without too many shenanigans. You go from the dock district to the lower district. That's where a lot of the common people live, and then from there you exit the city gates and you approach essentially what is the Dust Town, which is where a lot of the poorer, the more lesser thought upon races and the poor people live. This part of town is not surrounded by a wall or anything. It is just kind of ramshackle buildings along the side of a road.
I mean, I would say hi to anybody that I pass by. He's very friendly to everybody, but definitely very apprehensive as he reaches the very edge of what's considered the town.
Yeah, I would say funny enough, but if he had been familiar with this part of town, the closer you got to the Dust Town and then being in the Dust Town, the more poor and destitute the area looked, the more people were willing to say hi to you, mostly based on your race.
I think he definitely would pick up on that because I'm assuming it probably took 10 full years for people to not hate him immediately where he lives.
So as you pass a lot of the dwarves and humans, they sort of side-eyed you, but as you get to the point where you're on the outskirts of town and you are passing half-orcs and you are passing ferox and you are passing Ganassi and such, they seemed more inclined to give you a wave. If nothing else, then they kind of see you, and they may have their opinions on Drow, but they just see in you another person who is sort of stuck in the same sort of unlucky boat that they're in, and they're willing to say hi based on that sort of camaraderie.
Good day, hello, nothing strange going on here, just going about my day, just a fine gentleman of the town, a well-read man, going into the woods for fun.
So you get to the edge of the dust town, you cross the bridge that crosses across the river that leads into the essentially like the bay area where the Baldur's Gate docks are, passing all sorts of shops and other things along the side of the bridge. It's sort of ingenious almost. There's like a system of stilts, since the bridge is so like well built and sturdy, that sort of hook on to like the way the bridge is set up is it's about 50 feet wide, made of stone, and then however long you need to get over the river. You've never counted. It's a fairly long bridge. But there are walls on either side of the edge of the bridge that are about 4 or 5 feet in height that are also very sturdy, and there's a system of stilts that are sort of attached to that let buildings hang off the side of the bridge, and then cutouts in like the stone wall that lead down to steps. So it's sort of like the roofs of these buildings and shops are sort of like level with like the ground of the bridge. Okay. So you go down into steps and they're sort of like hang off and underneath it.
Gotcha.
But you're passing all sorts of shops that hang on either sides of these. Surprisingly enough, for where they're located on like right next to the dust town, like some of these shops are meant for the people who live there, but there are also like some pretty upstanding shops that choose to go here too, just because this is one of the main ways, one of two ways that you can get to the city of Baldur's Gate. So it sees a lot of traffic. So you make your way across fairly unaccosted.
He's like walking very like stiffly and awkwardly. He looks like a robot, or in this world a ye old automaton had possessed the skin of a very tall, skinny man. Nothing going on here.
So you make your way across, and you begin to head your way towards the forests. Anything you're doing or thinking about as you reach the edge of the woods?
I guess one thing that like he learned to do while he was making his original trip to Baldur's Gate was like learn like certain places to walk where like he would leave less of a track and how to cover up his tracks. So he's like he's going there very slowly because he's making like a very careful effort to like be as hard to follow as possible.
I mean, if you would like to check if there's anyone following you or anything, you certainly can.
Yeah, I guess I'll make a perception check just because it can't hurt. Unless, like, I don't know, I, like, get a 1 and, like, I fall face first in the mud. 12.
12? Kind of, like, peeking behind you, also first roll of the session 0 and your first roll of the campaign. Kind of, like, taking, like, a glance back every once in a while, not to be too obvious. It seems as though you're, in a good way, fairly unremarkable, so that you don't look so important that someone would be like, we should absolutely follow this person, but at the same time you don't look so shady that like someone of the law would follow you as well. You seem to like be able to fly under both radars simultaneously, as no one appears to be following you towards these woods. You appear to be on your own, for better or for worse.
Well, seems good. And as I am traveling through, I'll use my sword to like make marks on like trees. Like I'd say like every 10 trees I'll make like a little like slash on the very like bottom trunk of the trees, so like you'd have to like squat low to look at it to like notice that there's a mark.
And also once you reach the edge of the woods, you sort of feel that buzzing in the back of your head again.
What is it?
Though not as intense, sort of just it's there, but it seems less annoying this time. And with that, the path that you're taking and where you're making the marks, there just seems to be like a sort of confidence that you feel that you're going the right way. It seems as though you're sort of being subconsciously guided in the direction that you need to go.
Like a little compass in my brain. Okay. Yeah, I guess I just continue on, again, like periodically checking to make sure that I'm not followed. He's not necessarily concerned with like how long this will take, because he figures short or long, and he's still technically in danger being outside of the city. He just wants to be careful and make sure that he doesn't get lost.
Right. And as you move along this road, are you just kind of like still walking at your slow pace? Are you attempting to like Be stealthy as you do it, or you're just kind of like strolling along, sort of
I
kind
guess
of keeping track of where you're going, making your marks.
Yeah, I guess like he's not being like stealthy in the sense where like he's like hiding in the shadows. He's just more concerned with covering his tracks.
Yeah.
So I guess like if somebody was watching, they'd see this guy take a few steps and go or something like that. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yeah, like that's his idea of being stealthy.
Right. As you kind of like are walking along the path, you approach like it seems like a small clearing, and the trees are coming up ahead. And make another perception check for me.
Clearing. Well, from all the books I've read, something tells me something terrible is going to happen. Oh, well, what do you know? I'm looking. 15.
15?
Mm-hmm.
I would say you're able to like hear something coming from the clearing. Something that sounds like voices speaking common.
I don't see anything in the clearing though.
Not yet, just because at this point you're still about 30 feet away from the clearing, and it's like you can see that like there's a break in the trees coming up, but there's still like bushes and things that surround the clearing, so you can't quite see all the way into it yet.
So
but you hear voices, and that seem to go quiet as you begin to approach.
Now I'm going to make an effort to be stealthy. I'm going to try to get closer and hide to see if I can see what's going on. Should I do a stealth check?
Yes.
Okay. So, 16 for stealth.
You believe you're being reasonably quiet?
I'm like hiding in the bushes like, I sure hope my bright yellow shirt doesn't poke out in these dark green leaves. Would be a shame. Uh-oh, Skedio.
So how close do you get?
I guess to where you said those bushes were, like on the edge.
So like on the very edge of the clearing?
Yeah.
So do you hear the voices go quiet? For what reason you don't know. But you can hear, at this point it is around, I'd say about mid-after, like noon, essentially. The sun is almost directly overhead. It's taking you a while to do this walk. The trees do provide, aside from in the clearing, even in the clearing, there's only like sunlight in the very center.
Okay.
The tree cover here is pretty thick.
Okay.
To the point where it seems like Shar wasn't lying. The trees are thick enough to the point where you are walking in mostly shade.
I'm not completely like blinded.
Yes. But you see a small, looks like a cooking fire set up here, along with kind of facing away from you is just a figure just sort of like sitting around the fire, seems to be watching like a pot over the fire.
Oh, well, I'm sorry.
There are. Make another perception check for me.
So that's 13.
13. Still easy enough to see. Kind of through the light, you see a couple of bedrolls sitting to the side, and then like a tent is set up as well, along with a couple of backpacks sitting there.
A couple is in 2, or
is in 2?
Because sometimes I use couple to be like 5, so I
no,
wasn't sure.
No, a couple.
Okay.
A couple as in 2, but it seems to just be a. Let me just.
Yeah, I'm just like
mess up the description.
I'm just like 2 campers.
Seems to be. You only see one figure right now though. There's just a figure with his back turned. Has like a darkish, like grayish, blackish cloak with the hood pulled up, just sort of sitting there. Every once in a while, like if you sit there for like more than a couple of seconds, you would see the figure sort of like stoke the fire or like stir something in the pot that is sitting above the fire. It looks like the figure is reasonably tall and sort of just humanoidly built, but you're not able to see like the face or the hair or anything.
Well, he would like I should say I should get more into character. I would mutter something under like, oh, just some campers. I suppose this is a good place to camp. Well, none of my business. I'm going to like skirt around because I don't want to disturb these people. And I'm also just very paranoid that like they could be people that might follow me. So I'm going to attempt to just stealth around the perimeter of the clearing. So I'm assuming I'd make another stealth roll? Or no? Or will the one I made before count?
I would say no, just because it's like one of those things where like you already believe you're being reasonably stealthy, so.
So he just thinks he's still being
stealthy. So
okay.
you're kind of just like still like attempting to keep like that same energy going.
Gotcha. Yeah, I'm like, I'm like tiptoeing.
So you're kind of like going around the side of the clearing.
Yeah, he's not. I like to think he's not like super far off because he does want to keep like. Oh, I do want to keep some sort of an eye just in case.
So you're on like the edge of the clearing on the other side of the bushes. I'd say you get about halfway, like around the circle of the clearing, before you hear from the clearing. You don't see obviously the mouth move because you can't see the figure's mouth. But reasonably, the sound is coming from the person sitting there. Just, you don't have to be all the way over there.
I just sprint. I just start running. Oh! I just assume that they're going to attack me, and I start running.
You start running.
I like but for comedy's sake, I like to imagine I trip and fall on like a root or something.
Are you going to say that you trip and fall?
Yes, I want to trip and fall. I'm like, oh! I just.
Are you still running around the edge of the clearing?
Yeah.
You just sprint off like into the like.
So I'm still on my path, but now running, and I like to imagine I just like trip over some roots. I'm like, oh, bad show, my ankle.
From like you can kind of see like through some of the brushes, the figure just like as you start yelling, just kind of you hear like a muffled like laugh, and then you see like kind of like laying down, like looking at like the bottom 2 feet of the clearing. You see like the figure just stand up and then just like start to like approach you, not like running towards you, just like walking pretty casually towards you.
Nothing's over here. I get back up awkwardly. I'm like, oh, my pads are all dirty. I'm trying to get the brown spots off the knees on my pants while I'm like awkwardly walking away. I'm not moving very quickly.
What is your passive perception?
13. So it's not very high.
Yeah, so the figure approaches, and then
terribly sorry to bother.
You hear like a rustle through the is there anything that I can help you with?
Who's that? What's
around me?
Who's around me?
And then like cuts off mid-sentence. You would look up and you would see a pointed ears as the figure has now taken off the hood. A man about 6 feet tall, seems to be reasonably well built.
Do I recognize this man?
No.
Oh, thank God. Okay.
Though the one thing that would immediately catch you is pointed ears, sort of like medium gray skin, sort of denouncing him as a drow man.
I'm running. I'm running.
Are you already starting to run?
I'm out of there. I'm like, oh dear. I like to imagine he doesn't run very fast though, because he's a book boy. So I'm just doing this for like, I think that he would, there would be something comedic in his absolute fear as soon as he sees another drow.
Well, I guess I will give you the rest of the description later.
Sorry, that's just how I think he would react. He would immediately just book it.
Alright. Well, at the very least, you would also see like silvery hair that slowly became like purple towards the ends. It was about a little bit longer than shoulder length, and red eyes, though not like how like a rat's eyes are completely red. Like there are still like pupils and everything in them. They just appear to be red in color. So as you're running away, you hear, because the man seemed to be like stopped mid-sentence, seemed to be stunned to see another drow in here as well. It's just, wait, no, I don't mean any harm, or we don't mean any harm. And then do you turn back and look as he says we?
I stop and I imagine I crouch and look like Bigfoot who just got caught on camera. I'm like, you didn't shoot me yet. That's good. Good. Yes.
Yes. Why would I?
If you're asking, then no reason. Hello. Sorry you had to see me like this. I'm a bit of a cagey thing, aren't I?
Sure. Sorry, was not expecting to see another drow out here, especially a drow male.
Me especially, or any drow at all, ever. Haven't seen one since I've been up here because I was born up here anyways.
same here. Aside from the fact that, well, I was not born up here.
Oh,
My sister and I sort of left forever without telling anyone because we did not like it.
can I do an insight check?
You can.
Because I want to make sure that like they're telling the truth before I'm like same. Oh, that's a nat 20 plus my insight, which I think is 1, so 21.
Yeah. Yeah, so the nat 20, for the most part, the skill checks in this campaign, both for you and for the audience at home, if you do nat 20 something or you nat 1 something, for the most part, I'm kind of taking those as criticals unless the check is like easy enough where even a nat 1 plus enough modifiers could count as a success. Or like, obviously, if you're picking like an impossible lock that has a DC of 35, if you nat 20 something but only have a bonus of like +2, like there's still a chance that I might count that as a failure.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But anyway, so you're nat 20 on your
insight
check, 21 overall. It seems as though like the only sort of like lie that you're picking up here is he's sort of very gently trying to say they ran away without specifically saying the words they ran away. So he's just like, oh yes, we left without telling anyone, and it's forever, and we're never going back.
Ah, I understand completely. If I were to be in that sort of situation, I'm like winking at them, I wouldn't tell anybody either.
So I see we understand each other in that regard then. Yes, the drow culture for me was never,
it's terrible.
Didn't exactly do it. And my sister, who is somewhere around here as well, she was not a fan of everything that her life had entailed for her either.
And in my head I'm like, should I preach about my religion to these people, or should I just get on out of here?
But yes, she heard someone coming along the path, and obviously we wanted to play it a bit cool, because not everyone is exactly fond of us.
That is an apt statement to make, yes. I think you'll find if you go to Baldur's Gate, near the lower districts, you mayhaps not have as much of a hard time. Perhaps if one were to go, does one have a notebook in which they could accidentally write the things I'm going to tell you down?
I don't have one on me, but from behind you, you hear another voice. Baldur's Gate is actually where we're trying to go. You turn around and you see a drow lady with the same kind of cloak on that the male had, obviously in a smaller size. As she bring up all of this stuff here for her. So you would turn to see a drow woman. They both look around your age.
I'm like 200.
Yes. About 5'4", which I believe puts her significantly shorter than you are. Same kind of like medium to light gray skin that her brother has, maybe like a shade or two lighter. Same color hair up top, though hers kind of slowly fades as red towards the tips, whereas her brother fades towards purple. It seems as though maybe they didn't have access to a ton of supplies, but they have sort of done what they can to make themselves
different,
unrecognizable should they come across anyone else. And her eyes are sort of like a light kind of lilac color.
Okay. I avoid eye contact with her as she speaks. I look down because it's just ingrained in me to not look drow women in the eyes.
But yeah, so as she sort of approaches, she's like,
hello.
Sorry, not to spook you, just...
no worries at all, ma'am.
You are allowed to look at me. I knew that.
My eyes just hurt from the sun.
I always found that rule to be rather dull.
You have to dine from the Underdark to understand that rule.
Yes. We're... Right. The both of us are actually... Well, we left the Underdark, as my brother said. And we're also curious that you should say, but we're on our way to attempt to find the city of Baldur's Gate.
Ah, yes. Well, it's that way, and if one happened to find themselves in, I don't know, say the Dock District, and happened to be walking by, I don't know, say the Moonlight Fishery, and happened to mention that they knew a Mr. Rune, just Mr. Rune, they'll know what you mean. Perhaps they could offer you some sort of shelter in return for labor. I don't know. I don't know this, of course, because I've been here all my life and I don't know about fishing, but, you know. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yes. I'm guessing that you are from the city then.
Yes.
Right.
Just on a bit of a walk through the forest, just getting the old calves a stretch.
I know better than to ask about that. But
Exercise is very private, please.
Were you looking to go back to the city soon?
Well, hopefully by the end of the day. I'm not sure how long my journey will take. If you would like to accompany me, you can from a respectable distance, not in a rude way. Just have to be safe for certain reasons because of things.
Right. Well, that is kind of you, and if at the end of it you can lead us to the city, then we would be happy to accompany you on your mysterious walk, and then significantly less mysterious return to the city.
You see, I like roll up my giant puffy sleeves and show like my stick arms. I'm just very insecure about my lack of a gentleman's physique, as they say. Good show, yes. All of those things, so, you know, I like to exercise in private. Doing my lunges, you know, I don't want any fair folk.
You hear behind you from a man, I think you look fine. And then from the lady in front of you. Might be better if you shaved off the...
Nope, absolutely cannot do that because I inherited it from my father. The good old handlebar that you see many 20-year-old, I guess the drow equivalent of 20-year-old men wearing, because that is normal.
Right.
Anyways, back to my mission. I like to imagine he spins a roulette of animal noises that he knows in his head, and he goes, "If I am back, you will hear the sound of a bear 3 times.
If you are what now?
When I come back from my exercising."
Right. Well, we could accompany you from a distance on your walk if you would like.
I'm gonna try to page Shar in my head. Beep, 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 beep.
You hear? Yes.
Are they allowed to accompany me from a safe distance? Perhaps I sense new followers for you, my lady? Seeking refuge as I had?
Yes.
Alright, I've consulted my memory bank. As you know, I store many things in my brain. You may follow me from a safe distance. If I make any sort of strange motions like this, that means to stop. And if you see, I don't know, say, a group of men and large dogs, perhaps just run. I don't know. I wouldn't know anything about that. But anyways, yep, I'm gonna start lunging away.
Right.
Because, you know, I've been training for years to be secretive, but now that I actually have to put it into place, it's, I'm not too good at it. I'm not as good as I'd like to think.
Before you make it, like, all the way away, the man will turn around. Should we trade names at least if we're going to be moving with you?
Mr. Rune, as I said before, just Rune. Just
right.
Sir Rune, if you would, if you want.
I'm Nox, and my sister's Twy.
Ah, well, good to meet you, Twy, Nox. Yes, I still, like, as I'm, like, going to look her in the eyes, I quickly look away and look at her brother. It seems just like a very bad force of habit.
He just, like, looks over at her. She is, like, rolling her eyes, seeming to, like, not enjoy, like, the reintroduction to drow culture that you're bringing.
He was just, he's having a flashback.
And then, once again, before you completely leave, he's like, and, by the way, you said you're totally not from the Underdark, yes?
Correct.
Are you totally not from any specific part of the Underdark? Because I can't help but feel that you look the tiniest bit familiar.
don't know what you're talking about, gent.
Is his hair even that long?
No. He just like fixes his like short hair, like don't know what you're. Got a twig in my eye, and I closed the purple eye, so only like my gold eye is showing up. I don't know what you're talking about. Terribly sorry. Anyways, I suppose we should get going.
Yeah, probably right. There were so many people from the city that we were from that well, I'm sure you just look like a million other people that we knew.
Of course, yes. Just like everybody else. I keep up the exercise ruse the whole time. My calves are on fire. I'm like, a sedentary life is the life for me. Also, make sure to cover your tracks just in case bears.
Right. Alright, so you continue walking along. Are you turning back for any more conversation or anything at all, or are you just...
If they want to indulge in conversation, they're welcome to, but he's trying to keep, like, give them as little information as possible, even though he's already given them quite a bit.
Shar continues to sort of, like, guide your steps as you walk, before you eventually approach a, what seems another clearing, maybe 50 feet in front of you.
Hold my hand up for them to stop.
They're both within eyesight. They're about 15 feet behind you. They both just like stop, like looking at each other, look back at you, and then the smaller one, the Twy, just sort of.
I learned this trick from the forest. I'm just gonna take a handful of rocks and throw them into the clearing to see if there's a trap or anybody.
Make a strength check because you're throwing these rocks over 50 feet.
Oh, I thought it was way closer. All right. So that is a 5.
You throw this rock about 10 feet before it hits a branch and then falls to the ground, like on the path in front of you.
Yes. That tells me that there's some sort of barrier that will not allow my throw to go any farther, as I did do a bit of javelin tossing back in my college days. Yes. I think we should. I don't trust clearings. It's a bit of a habit of mine that I do not trust them. So I'm going to walk around.
They're both kind of like, especially after your little scrum with the rock, they're both just, would you like either of us to help? We both have
help me walk around the edge.
Unique skills in surveying possible dangers.
I mean, if you would like to, sure. I just think it's easier to just go around, say, bullocks to it all, yes. And just...
You have your sword on your back, yes?
It's on his hip.
It's on his
hip.
But
it's not, like, hidden.
Yeah, so I would say kind of like still coming behind you is Nox, though from his back he would pull a staff of wood, and sort of like prepare to be ready. It seems he might be a mage of some sorts as he's like slowly approaching the clearing, and then pulling out a rapier off of one hip and then a dagger that was kind of hidden in a pocket in her leg. Twy sort of like makes her way up to you, seems to be like traveling next to you, but also going very like trying to stealth and be kind of sneaky as you two sneak around the edge.
I take very long steps to like as discreetly as possible, just get slightly more distance from her as we're moving because I'm terrified of her.
So are you approaching stealthily?
I'm going to attempt to approach stealthily. Whether I am actually stealthy or not depends on the roll. I'm rolling correct?
Yes.
Okay. That's a 6.
Alright. She was only slightly better at an 11. You step on a lot of very crunchy leaves as you approach, and she sort of like kind of like gives you like a little bit of like a scathing look before she steps on a twig herself and it snaps, and then she just like closes her eyes and just...
I'll make my mage hand appear and just go...
She looks at you, and while there is like a little bit of that scathing look left, there's also like she's trying like not to laugh a little bit. It seems like she's enjoying like the kind of playful back and forth.
Just like
before she just like shakes her head at you and continues trying to move. Nox stays like a little bit sort of further back, but kind of stays about 10 feet away from the clearing, still with like his staff out, his hand in front of him, ready if shit should hit the fan. Yield fan.
It's just somebody's arm spinning around.
Ugh. All right. So as you approach the clearing, it doesn't seem like you can't see that like you've disturbed anything by your slightly noisy approach. Are you like kind of peeking into the clearing like you did the last one? You notice it's bigger than the other one, but make a perception check.
This dice is not the best. 12.
12. All right. So one of the first things you could notice is it's a little bigger than the other one. It's about 50 feet across. It's about 30 feet of sunlight in the center of it. Through the sunlight, you're able to make out the grays of some sort of crumbling stone building on the far side.
Oh, everything's fine. That's where I'm supposed to go.
This scene looks very familiar. You also notice that there are a lot more leaves than usual, scattered all over the ground of this clearing. Like it's not just grass; it's almost.
Audie knows what's up, but Fendiun don't.
It is like a whole lot of leaves and looks. You only rolled a 12.
Pretty regular.
Looks slightly lighter in tones than normal, like just grass, but just like a lot of leaves kind of just like matted to the ground almost.
Never mind, everybody. This is where we're supposed to go out. It's fine. I'm just gonna start walking out. All of a sudden, I'm just like, sure, I wouldn't let anything bad happen to me. So close to where I need to be.
You walk out into the clearing.
Yep, I'm just having a wonderful time, living in the sunlight, loving in the moonlight, having a wonderful time.
All right. Well, Twy, having rolled a 9 on her perception check of the clearing, also seems to think that everything is all right, so she follows you out.
I would say, like, I do have my hand on my sword because I don't know what's inside the building, but other than that, I'm approaching fairly confidently.
Right, and let's see how Knox does. That is a natural 1, so everything looks
Oh my
great.
God, we're the Three Stooges from Down Under.
So, you take your first step into the clearing. You take your second step into the clearing. You go to take your third step, and this ground is definitely not the easiest to walk on. Maybe it's just the leaves. You go to take your fourth step and pick up your left foot again, and almost seems like the ground doesn't want your foot to leave. You go to take your fifth step, move your right foot again, and it almost seems like your foot is like sticking to the ground, like you're stepping in like syrup or something. You can make another perception check at this point, now that you are about 10 feet into this clearing.
I just, like, squat down to look at the ground. Was there some mud or something? Did I perhaps step in something unfavorable? What am I doing in perception? 8.
8.
Wow, this dice is not lucky.
Oh,
we're the unlucky few.
Very unlucky, as it would seem. The other two are noticing it too, though they kind of like both look towards you because you said, "Oh, this is where I'm supposed to be going." So they sort of like.
Did it rain recently? Is it muddy? I don't. I'm like trying to like.
It hasn't really rained any time that recently, no.
I guess I'm just gonna try to like kick the ground. To like try to get like my, you know how like if you get your foot stuck and just like that's what I'm trying to do to get my foot loose.
Be a strength check, or should I make you roll perception again? Make a strength check. Why not?
That's a nice ripe 9.
You kick the ground, and your foot sticks a little bit as it slides across the ground, but nothing really happens. Make another perception check.
Nat 20.
All right. You hear. There's absolutely no wind at the moment, and you hear rustling at 2 different points in the trees.
In Undercommon, I go, shit.
An Undercommon,
yep.
What?
I don't think we're alone.
What would be here? And she kind of looks back towards the ground and is like, wait a minute.
I'm gonna panic and Eldritch Blast wherever I heard one of the rustling. I'm just gonna panic.
Make an attack roll with disadvantage.
And I like to think that my Eldritch Blast is pretty and looks like a ray of sunshine. It looks like this like yellowy orange bolt.
Hilarious.
What am I adding to it? My spell?
Nothing yet because it's with disadvantage.
Oh,
'cause you're
yeah,
attacking
so-
something that you can't see.
So 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12.
12. That is a miss. As you just fire off. Well, you don't even know whether it's a miss or not. You fire it off in, and it explodes against like the trunk of one of the trees, and a whole lot of leaves continue falling. Make a perception check again.
Hope it's not just a bird. 15.
So a whole bunch of leaves tumble down. The leaves that land on like the outer edge of the clearing, like towards where the grass is and like near the bushes, kind of like land and sort of just like flutter as leaves do, even when there's not much wind, just because they're so light. The ones that kind of land in the clearing just sort of stay as soon as they land. At this point, Twy kind of looks down and is like, wait, the ground.
Yes, it's muddy. I think we've established that.
I don't think it's mud.
Is it bamboo?
Would you like to either look again, use your sword to sort of poke around at the leaves?
Yeah, I feel like at this point, I'll just be like, I'll just take out my sword and be like, I'm just gonna like test stab the ground. Not necessarily doing it to be like, Kah! But like.
Make one last perception check. I'll say with advantage at this point since you are using a tool to help you.
13.
I'd say that's enough with the sword. So you're able to kind of like poke at a couple leaves and kind of like pry a leaf off of the ground. And underneath the leaf, the ground is white in a sort of woven pattern. You can see.
Can I do like a nature check to see if I understand what that is? What that means?
Yes. I'd say with advantage because of the subject material.
16.
Spiderweb over ground where it has killed the grass. It's over dirt. I will say, well, as soon as you notice that it is a spiderweb across this entire clearing.
I saw your pencil poke out of this and I got really scared.
Spoopy. I would say as soon as you notice that this is spiderweb across barren ground, do you say anything at all?
I guess for a split second in my head, I'm like, traitors, because I just think spiders lull the drow, but I'm like, no, they seem pretty trustworthy.
Start running?
I'm running to the building.
To the building? So you are moving at, this is a disadvantage, but as soon as, like, she's close enough to you where she can see the spiderweb too, she recognizes what it is, and you hear from Twy, like, in undercommon under her breath, I fucking hate spiders.
Me too. I reply back in undercommon.
And then, as you get, I would say towards like the edge of where the sunlight is, because it is about 30 feet of sunlight, which means 10 feet on. Actually, no, you would get about 10 feet into the sunlight. You're kind of like shielding yourself a little bit. You hear and can feel on the webs almost a little bit some pressure, and you hear noises coming from your left, close to where the one sound was, and the right
I don't
of
like
you.
that.
At this point, Nox has made his way towards the very edge of the clearing and kind of like felt his feet get stuck. That's a better roll. He immediately realizes what's happening, and he's like, we have some Underdark friends here with us.
Not for long, I'm gonna kill them. I'm gonna kill them all.
But you would notice, you don't even have to make a perception check for this, because these
me holding my sword.
These are two large giant wolf spiders, which are about 5 feet long and about 3 feet high. One descends on your left in the clearing, about 20 feet from you. One descends on your right in the clearing, about 30 feet from you. And both of them are just sort of like, they're
like chittering, like
a little bit, yeah. And it seems like they can kind of sense where you are because of like you standing on the webs. So they kind of like give like a quick look over to where Nox is as soon as he steps on them, but then it's like back to you, back to Twy, back to you.
Oh, I got 8.
You got 8?
Mm-hmm. Correct.
Well, you're not going last at the very least. Oh, that's so unfortunate. Alright, so let me just mark down the combat order real quick. Alright, so we got everybody. So first up is going to be Twy, who is, I would say probably about 5 feet behind you. So, sensing that this seems to be very difficult terrain to kind of move over, she is going to make her way of like the 5 to 10 feet up to you. That'll take most of her movement for the turn. And then the spider that is to your left, that is closer, about 20 feet away, she still has her weapons out. She's going to kind of flip the dagger once in her hand, catch it by the blade, and just sort of chuck it at the closer spider.
In my head, I'm like, please hit, please hit, please hit, please hit. Like, right between the eyes. Come on, old girl, you can do it.
That is a 16, which will hit. Dealing 6 points of piercing damage. These definitely don't look like the hardiest of creatures. So she kind of just like whips the dagger before the spider is able to fully. It kind of ducks its head out of the way, but it sort of strikes the abdomen. What is that part of the spider called?
The thorax.
The thorax of it. Sort of like hits and just sticks in as it spins, and you can see the spider sort of like it squeals in pain as like some of its greenish blood sort of just leaks down onto the webs. It's already kind of like, looking angry, but at the same time like looking like that was already a significant blow to strike against it. These don't look like the sturdiest of creatures.
Gotcha.
After that, though, it will be the spider's turn. One of the spiders is going to make its way up towards you. The one closest to you that she just struck will make its way up to you. Sensing the pain that its brethren was in, the other one is going to crawl across the webs towards Twy, and they are going to make a bite attack against each of you. The one towards you is going to be that is going to be a 16 to hit versus armor class.
Yep, that hits. I'm a 16 for armor class.
Right, and the one against her is going to be a 10 to hit versus armor class, which will miss her, but I will roll the damage for you first for anything else. A big 5 points of piercing damage. As I imagine at this point you have your sword drawn. It sort of like lunges at you when you go to block, but it sort of sinks its teeth into your arm, sort of piercing through, as the breastplate doesn't really cover extremities very well. I'm also going to need you to make a Constitution saving throw.
So that's 14.
14, that passes. So as it sinks into your arm, your arm starts to like sting and go a little numb, pins and needles, as you sense the poison from the teeth sort of like through you. But you're able to sort of like, with kind of like dropping your sword to a one-handed grip, sort of like punch at it, and sort of the pommel kind of connects with the face, and the spider sort of releases and kind of backs off. And you're able to kind of shake it off, kind of resisting the effects of the poison for now. The other spider lunges towards Twy, but you kind of see her now with only one weapon in her hand, kind of get the blade of her rapier sort of stuck in, like sort of jarred in the teeth. We're kind of thrusting off, kind of able to parry off the blow.
Gotcha.
Of it, and with that we move towards your turn.
So the spider that she hit with her dagger
is the one directly in front of you at this point.
So I'm going to bonus action Hex Curse it, which is not the same as the Hex spell. So I get my
Hexblade's Curse.
Yeah, so I get proficiency bonus on damage rolls against it, and on a 19 or 20 I crit, and if they die or gain HP equal to my warlock level plus my charisma modifier.
Gotcha.
Which would be helpful if I could kill it. And I'm going to swing at it with Grievance. Ooh, edgy, my sword.
Yes, and that is that a two-handed sword?
It's a long sword.
It's a long sword, gotcha.
So I could wield it two-handed though, correct?
Yes, if you wanted to. I imagine that you were, since you're not taking the bonus of like a shield or anything. Are you wielding it with two hands before you swing?
Yeah, I would just cause like damage.
Yes.
But yeah, he doesn't have a shield.
And you added both your proficiency modifier and your
My
charisma bonus towards that?
Well, so
It's +5 to hit.
Yeah, it's +5 to hit, and I rolled a 5.
So a 10 will unfortunately miss. You go to still kind of like shaking off the effects of your arm. You go to swing. It's a little bit low, and the spider's sort of able to. You sort of like see that it's very difficult to move on this terrain, but the spiders seem to not be having that issue. So as you go to swing, you think it's close enough, but the spider's able to kind of definitely like back away quick and kind of move back up into the space. As you notice that at the very least, you kind of become aware of the fact that the spiders do not seem to have the same difficulty moving across these webs as you do.
Yeah, and I don't want to move away and have it bite me, so I guess I'll just stay put.
Fair enough. With that brings us to Nox's turn. He's sort of sitting on the edge of the clearing at the moment. He will sort of turn to the one. Well, I guess he sort of trusts in his sister's abilities and also would know that she just parried off hers. So seeing that you're kind of having a little bit of difficulty, he is going to kind of summon a little bit of reddish energy in his hand and throw a firebolt towards the one that you are fighting.
Good, I hope it dies.
Oh boy, that is a 14 to hit, which just barely hits against the armor class. And that will be 1 point of fire damage. As he sends it across, once again seems to miscalculate a little bit how quick that it can move across the web, so it ducks out of the way of most of it, but it still strikes like a glancing blow against its face. It kind of like shrieks again, as you can see like some of like the hairs that sort of stick on the spider sort of begin to curl where he hit, and the
like
skin the skin kind of like bubbles a little bit where it hit. Still is definitely not looking like it is a spider in the best shape, but not doing the most damage. All right, that brings us back to the top of the round, back to
Twy.
Yes, back to Twy. She gets that. She is going to
take her dagger out and then put it right back in.
She is actually going to first move away from the spider that is in front of her, so that will get an attack of opportunity. That is a natural 1, so that spider is seems to just like be a little bit preoccupied, kind of like is looking over at the magic spell that was just cast, and by the time it looks back, she's almost out of its reach, and it lunges, but is already too far away for it to hit. But she's kind of going to go like, you feel her back sort of press into your back for a second before she just like kind of swings around, sort of catching the other spider by surprise. She lunges with her rapier at it. On her part, that is going to be also a 14 to hit for his armor class, so that is going to hit. And that will also give her sneak attack bonus.
Ooh.
Some roguey stuff that she's pulling off here.
Good, kill it.
That is, goodness, I forgot how broken rogues are at early levels. That is going to be 13 points of total damage as she sort of is able to swing around you but also duck low. By the time she's popping up, the spider like turns to like look, and she's kind of able to catch like right under the jaw and sort of drive her rapier up straight through the skull of it, kind of driving it up in the air before pulling it down, sort of slamming it back into the ground as it just like collapses there. It seems like the blow is enough to
one I hexed?
To kill it, and it's certainly the one that you hexed. Does that work if your ally slays it as well?
All I wrote down is when they die, I regain the HP. So I don't know if you want to double check that, because I didn't want to like fill up the whole block with the information, but I'm pretty sure it just like happens if they die, but I could be wrong.
Let me
Hexblades have a lot of things.
Check on that real quick. It's one of the first abilities that they learn, so it should not be.
It's like the first thing that pops up when you look up Hexblades.
Too difficult to find here, especially on my handy dandy
notebook.
Not so much a notebook, but my handy dandy D&D Beyond that I'm using. They are not sponsoring us, but still I enjoy them.
Very helpful.
Hexblades. There it is.
Amazing.
Hexblades Curse. The ability to place the target's curse for 1 minute. The curse ends early. If the target dies, you die, or you are incapacitated. Gain a bonus to damage rolls against the target. Any attack roll you make against the cursed target is a crit hit on 19 or 20. If the cursed target dies, You regain hit points equal to your warlock level plus your charisma modifier. You can't use this feature again until you finish a short. A long rest.
Sounds like he died.
Yes, and you do not have to kill it yourself.
Oh God. Alright. Oh wait, I don't have to roll, I just get back 4 HP. So I'm almost back to full.
Yeah, so as she kind of kills it, when you cast the Hexblade's Curse, you kind of saw as like a lot of the shadows, since you... Actually, wait, you're standing in the sunlight right now. Yes, you're standing in the sunlight right now, so I do need to remember that your attacks do have disadvantage.
Oh, I thought we were in the like, just before the sunlight.
No, but that is totally my fault for not remembering that.
Well,
but that also brings the cool sort of imagery to mind. As you cast this, the shadows almost seem to creep from the shade and sort of coalesce around the spider. And as she slams it into the ground, the shadows kind of like spring up and swirl for a moment before swirling into like where you're casting a shadow, and then swirl up into your body, and you kind of feel where the teeth kind of came in, like the wound starts to knit itself together and close. The blood flow coming from the wound ceases.
Does it look like they really noticed that that's a thing that happened, or no?
Do they notice?
Yeah.
I
don't know if like they're that focused on the battle or not. Like,
I'd say from I'll give Knox disadvantage since he is some bit away from you. That is a natural 2, so he does not notice. Nice. As far as Twy notices that like you did something that caused sort of the shadows to stick to the thing, and as she killed it, you kind of like watch as she like watches the shadow like disappear to your shadow and then up into you. She doesn't seem like frightened or taken aback or anything. She just sort of like kind of like raises like an eyebrow to
like
you,
curious.
and then just sort of like shrugs. It also seems like having her brother throw a firebolt at something, magic might not be something that she's necessarily like...
That's fine by me, as long as they don't ask.
Yeah, she might not know specifically what you're doing, but she just assumes you're doing a sort of magic that her brother just did.
Gotcha.
So she doesn't seem put off by it, just seems curious. Alright, so ending her turn, that brings us to the other spider's turn. It is going to, now that she is on the other side of you, just sort of lunge once more at you. And that will be a 14 to hit versus armor class.
No, I'm a 16.
Alright, so it lunges at you. This time you are able to sort of like, kind of like...
Chest first.
Not so much that, just like kind of parry it off with like the blade of your flamberge. Sort of like catch where like the blade meets the, what is it, like the guard. Sort of kind of catch that in the mouth and sort of like push it off.
Yeah, the sword's like very decorative, so I imagine it'd be easy for something to get caught in like the wrought iron parts.
Kind of like settles back into where it is. You are standing like right along the edge of like where the sunlight meets the shadow, so you are technically in the sun right now.
Gotcha.
It kind of settles back into where it is, and it's just sort of like waiting for whatever happens next.
All right, I guess I'll maneuver around the spider, but like within its range, so it doesn't get the opportunity attack. Not that Fendiun knows what an opportunity attack is, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
And try to be in the shade, so I'm not just as blindly attacking. So no disadvantage then? Just
no, roll a straight attack roll against the spider.
Okay, and it's whatever I roll is gonna have +5 to it, so 12 + 5 to hit.
That is a 17 to hit. That will hit.
Oh my gosh! Wow.
going out. Roll some damage.
So it's gonna be a D10 + 3. Oh, I guess I only have one D10. So that's 6, 7, 8, 9 points of slashing damage. Like,
Alright, so kind of like maneuvering around to the side of it. It's kind of struggling to like watch both you and Twy as you're both in its melee range. And as it kind of turns back to you, sort of strike right along the face, sort of carving a piece of its face off, along to carving a little bit into the chest of it. Its blood just splatters all over the ground. It sort of like shrieks, but the shriek kind of sounds a little bit muffled now as part of the jaw is missing from it. It sort of sounds a little bit gargled as
I'm like,
it's already from that strike looking kind of rough. It's sort of like swaying back and forth, kind of like surveying what its options might be.
Yeah, I like choke back some vomit as I watch the gross Icarus blood flow out. I'm just like,
Right, and then seeing you make this massive strike against it, Nox sort of like looks up to you and sort of takes a couple steps forward, sort of like trying to move as quickly as he can. He moves about 15 feet away from the spider on your kind of on your right hand side a little bit, and you hear from behind you in a mocking, but like mocking in a playful way sort of tone. Oh yes, good show.
Oh my.
As he sort of like kind of throws his staff up real quick and catches it with his opposite hand, and with the hand that was just holding the staff, sort of like this bluish, whitish energy sort of appears as he sort of just like side arms it towards the spider.
Mm-hmm.
As it hits him, it sort of like wraps twice around him before becoming taut, sort of a rope kind of connecting the energy point that he's holding with like the wrap that is now around the spider as he attempts to pull it towards himself, casting lightning lure.
It's a good cantrip.
Yes, the spider will need to make, if I'm not mistaken, a strength saving throw from that cantrip.
Or be pulled 15 feet closer and take the damage.
That is only an 11, which will fail. So he is going to... Well, you wanted it to fail.
Oh, okay.
So it fails. So as he pulls it 10 feet closer to himself, you see the spider sort of like slide by you as it attempts to like use all of its legs to sort of stem the progress. But the damage you have done to it seems to have weakened it enough that you can see like some of the legs giving out. It sort of like falls, only standing on the back 4 legs, but its front half sort of like falls into the ground and it's drug. And as soon as it gets within 5 feet of him, he kind of like snaps, and energy sort of just goes right along the rope into where the ties are around this, and sort of just shock into the spider. So he's going to roll the d8 and do a certain amount of damage to it. 7 points of damage, certainly better than his fire spells. Sort of just going to shock directly into the spider as the spider kind of like, its eyes go wide for a second and it attempts to like stretch out its legs before its entire body just goes like rigid, and it just collapses to one side, seemingly electrocuted to death, as both of these spiders now lay dead in this clearing as initiative ends.
Jolly good job, both of you. And I'm just gonna start Eldritch blasting the spider webs off the ground. I'm like, in case there's any more. I don't want them to sense us.
Doing this entire clearing would take literal hours.
Okay, I'll just do a path for us to walk.
That'll take about 5 minutes, and they sort of
That's 5 minutes I'm willing to take.
As they sort of like have their eyebrows raised towards you, but don't seem necessarily against it, as once initiative ends, from her spot right next to you, you hear a repeated under her breath and undercommon from Twy. I fucking hate spiders.
Oh, me too. You don't know the half of it, trust me.
I have a funny feeling I know about half of it.
That's Audie laughing, not Fendi. He's very nervous. All right,
And
well.
Significantly less. He seemed maybe more confident, maybe just this is his personality, but making a much bolder comment as he kind of like walks along the path. One of the spiders right next to the path, Nox sort of like pokes one of the spiders twice with his staff before like kind of like looking around and just kicking the spider, kind of like a kind of like rolls a couple feet before stopping there, and he just goes, "Fuck you, Lolf." Just kind of continues along the path towards the building you said you're going to. It does not seem like either of them have very much love for.
Fendian's like, I believe I am making new friends today. Correct. But yeah, I'm just blasting my way through until we get to the...
You do eventually accomplish your mission, and there is a path that runs almost straight through the center of the clearing, where there are no leaves and no spider webs. It's just dirt.
Beep, 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 beep. Hello? Sure. Is this booby trapped at all? Before I take a step in, I don't want to step and then get exploded or anything like that.
You would get just like if you closed your eyes as you did this, you would just get the same vision of the building, and then you would just get a vision of the artifact again, and that's it.
Alright, I walk in the building.
The moment that you enter, I won't even say make a perception check, just because this is maybe a crumbling ruin, maybe 20 by 30 feet from the inside. The windows are glassless. There is no door. There's simply an opening where the door was. It still has all of its walls and its ceiling mostly intact, aside from a few spots where some air is like letting in, and the glimmer of light through the trees is kind of making its way inside. But aside from what is in the building, there's nothing. There is a little bit of rubble, and maybe in the center of the floor and around like the corners and stuff. And there is this artifact-looking thing that you saw. Kind of, if the door is here, it's sitting over towards like the center-ish, but slightly off-center of the room on the far end.
How big is it?
How big is the artifact?
Yeah. Like, do I think that my mage hand could pick it
up? You are. How much can a mage hand lift?
I think it's either 10 or 15 pounds.
It is about,
Max.
I would say, 18 inches in diameter. And the circle part is about 4 inches thick and kind of runs around, and then the opening is like hollow.
Okay.
Aside from that, it is about 18 inches in diameter. It is a perfect circle, and it is I'd say about 2 inches thick.
Okay, gotcha.
With an opening in the center of about, if that's 4 inches, that's 8 inches, with about like a 10-inch diameter like circle cut out of the middle.
I mean, it can't hurt to at least attempt to try to pick it up with my mage hand. Then I'll try to pick it up with my mage hand.
Your mage hand goes across, grabs a hold, and attempts to lift it up, but it is unsuccessful.
Either of you know mage hand?
They both kind of look at you and just...
I was thinking, with our combined efforts of the mage hand, lift it up. Yeah.
I will say that, like, aside from that and the rubble, there is absolutely nothing else in this entire room.
Well, I'm just gonna walk over and like squat down and try to pick it up. I don't actually know how heavy it is, but I assume I'd walk over to it and just start making sounds as though I'm automatically expecting it to be very heavy.
It's about 25, maybe 30 pounds. It's made of... From the outside, it looked like it was made of stone, but as you get closer, make a perception check for me, just for S's and G's.
12.
12?
Getting a lot of 12s.
Still, it's smooth, almost too smooth to be stone. It seems to be some kind of stone metal mix,
like
almost.
A cermet?
A little bit.
Okay.
It's dark grayish in color, though it doesn't seem... It's not shiny, but it doesn't seem like it's rusted at all.
Okay.
It seems like it is...
Is it a little matte, one would say?
A little bit,
okay.
Yeah. It is in the repair that it was meant to be in, almost, if that makes sense. And you also notice equally spaced along the top of it being like the flat surface, are 8 indentations.
Are these indentations by chance moon-shaped? Like phases of the moon?
They are.
I'm sorry, that's just like where my mind naturally like went with like the circle and everything.
Yeah, they are actually phases of the moon. With, if you're looking at it like this, with a full moon being here, the full moon just being like a circle, and then a dot being here, and then go this way having your waning moon phases, so like 3/4 full, half full, a quarter full, and then your waxing phases being the 3 on this side being a quarter full, half full, 3/4 full. There is like a set in it, maybe about, I would say 3/4 of an inch deep, where it's kind of like carved out in this shape, almost like it's
I'm glad. Sketching it just so it's...
I'm glad that you're drawing it, but it's set in a way that looks like something of that shape could be set down inside of it.
Gotcha. Okay.
And then for the other, like underneath it, it comes to like a rounded point at the bottom of all of them, regardless of the size, where it is like a very thin, maybe like, because each of this, like the biggest, the full moon is about 2 inches in diameter, set there, with the new moon being about 1 inch in diameter. All the other moons are represented by what they would be if they were 2 inches in diameter, obviously, in the various shapes. But about a 1/2 inch in diameter at the bottom of all of these presses is a hole that goes straight through, as like an opening.
Okay.
It's like a 1/2 inch diameter opening that's drilled like straight through the bottom of all 8 settings.
Gotcha. Hmm. Like, I look at like the circle that's like scratched out on my thing. I'm like, oh, seems like it's the right thing.
But now that you are picking it up and holding it, I need you to make a dexterity saving throw.
Oh. Oh my god. 7.
So as you pick it up and hold it, like 3 or 4 seconds after picking it up and you're examining it, you hear as two of the stones just slide open, and falling down is like a spout of some sort. You can smell the smell of like sulfur as soon as the spout comes down and opens. And as you like tense up, you see
Oh no.
no some black smoke and soot spray out. Maybe you're standing about maybe 10 feet from this thing, maybe about 2 feet as a puff, just some black smoke and soot where you imagine maybe a fire trap once was, just
Oh my god.
out into the room before it just settles onto the ground. As this trap that was once set maybe seemed like it was once something, though you're unsure now. A couple of seconds later, you hear as it does it again, still attempting to work. Then this time, like a jet of flame sort of extends out maybe 15 from it, hitting you, and then but before the flame hits you, as soon as you see this entire device itself tumbles forward and just like lands on the floor, seeming like this fire has worn out the remaining parts that was holding it together and drops to the ground. That said, from the fire, it's a pretty minuscule amount of fire, if like we're being honest. Yeah, you only take 2 points of fire damage as it sort of extends out and hits you. It's not the most intense fire you've ever experienced.
It's still an ouchie.
But it still hurts, and as soon as it like hits you, you're ducking, you're like, ah, and then before you even know it, it's over, and you can see like the thing just lying on the ground, some smoke just slowly pouring out of the hole that it opened up from, and some liquid just like leaking out of that.
This is
out of that
like a
hole
little mechanism or something that I could take with me to inspect.
If you wanted to take the nozzle with you that it was spraying these flames through, you absolutely could.
Do I think I could use it for anything? Or maybe sell it to some like artificers who are interested in like traps and stuff, maybe?
Yeah, I'm not really sure, but
I mean,
you certainly could if you wanted to.
I guess it couldn't hurt when I take it off at
It's laying on the ground. The nozzle itself is laying on the ground. It looks like it has like, you can see like towards the end what like broke, that fell, like that was connected to something in the wall. There is a heavy amount of rust that was just like is coalesced to that piece, and it looks like the bit of fire that came out like immediately shattered the internal systems of this trap. It looks like this trap has been sitting here for a very long time, and before it ever got to do what it was fully intended to do, nature took its toll on it.
So yeah, I'm gonna keep the nozzle. I'll wrap it up in like a handkerchief or something, and I'll put it in my bag, just in case, because maybe I could like ask somebody if they know any history on these sort of mechanisms.
I will say, as you go to pick it up and look at the hole, make an Arcana check.
Oh, I'm proficient in those. 22.
22. You can just tell based on the look of this and based on the feel of it, this is not something that was magical in nature at all. This was something that was entirely like
all crafted.
Like crafted and like an artifice like mechanism, more so than it was like an arcane trap. And it was that was mainly probably the reason why after so much time out here it eventually broke.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I'm still gonna keep the nozzle, but that's nice information to have. I'm assuming that like the way that I carry this like big stone thing is I'm just like holding it like with both of my arms underneath, because I feel like it's too heavy to just hold with one arm.
Yes, though you could probably fit it in your bag if you so wished. As it is only 18 inches in diameter, it would fit in your backpack.
I guess just carrying something 35 pounds on my back would hurt, or 20 to 30 pounds, I think you said.
About 20 to 25 pounds, yeah.
25, sorry. I feel like
or you could like attach it to like your bag so it would like hang off, but you can also carry it if you wish.
Yeah, I'm just gonna carry it because I feel like that's good. But when we get closer to like the town, I'll put it in my bag and just like suffer with the extra weight on my back.
Yeah. As you approach the entrance with the thing, they're both once again giving you kind of like raised eyebrow looks before Nox is eventually.
What? You're acting like you've never seen a man with a shot put this before.
Don't shot puts use the little balls.
I'm very new to the whole exercise thing. You've never seen a discus thrower before. I'm practicing my craft.
You know, you don't need to necessarily lie to us. If you don't want to tell us what the purpose of that object is for, you can just say, I would prefer to keep this private.
Nothing to hide, because I'm simply an exercising man.
They both just shake their heads before.
Listen, all I'm going to say, my friends, the less you know, the better.
They both just sort of shake their heads at you before. You're about 10 feet from the door, and 10 feet from them. They both sort of just shake their heads and walk out. Do you make your way to the exit?
Yep.
Right as you reach the doorway before you exit, you hear from behind you, see? Now I told you could do it. Turn to look.
Is she there? Yeah.
There is a slightly pale woman with pointed ears, long, straight black hair, and a very simple black silken gown. Just sort of no shoes or boots or anything, and just a very simple kind of silvery wire like headpiece that kind of like extends through her hair,
still holding
and just and just sort of like comes to like a point like right above, like between her brows above her nose, where there's just like a single black gem and an upside down teardrop. Actually, in an upside down teardrop shape like right here. And then like another piece that comes up to about right here. And since her hair is all pushed out of her face, there is a single black quarter moon.
Gotcha.
That is shaped right there. And she just sort of like looks at you.
Lady, it's been a while since I've seen your glorious visage. Which he's not like being like untruthful in the fact that she's a pretty woman, but he's definitely like being extra nice because he doesn't want her to kill him or something. So I found the discus. Can they hear me? Can they hear me?
What?
Can they hear us? Can they see us?
No, they can't hear us for now.
Are we frozen to time? Like in books.
Not frozen so much, but while you were with me, you were also somewhere else.
Alright, great. That's all I needed to know. So, I don't know.
Who?
Those two.
Do you gesture like out the door?
Yeah. They good?
Where exactly are you gesturing?
The two
Do you turn to look towards the door?
Yeah.
You look towards the door, and all there is behind you is just darkness.
Oh.
Just like a black sheet.
Alright, well, are we in the Shadowfell right now? It doesn't matter. I say that out loud. I'm just like, whatever, you know, I'm sensing that they're in a similar situation as I am. Not that I think that they want to borrow power, but perhaps even just, I don't know, figured some help under your name. I don't know. I told them to go to the fishery.
It's very generous of you.
Well, I don't know if that's actually allowed or not, but I figured labor is labor. I did my due there.
I don't dabble in the more mundane affairs of mortals, but if you think that will help them, then it will. I do think there is a similarity between all of you.
I don't really see it. Personally, I don't get it. I'm blue, they're gray.
I think there is more similarities between you and them than both you would like to admit and that you currently even know.
Are they my siblings? I whispered that to him. Are they my brother and sister? No, I didn't know that. Is that what you mean? Are we related?
No.
Oh, okay, great. Family gatherings are always such a huge deal. Anyways, so I have this thing. Yes. What do I do with it? Where do I put it? My lady.
For that object serves a very specific purpose. Its purpose you will know when the time comes. It is something that only you can do.
Is there a way to make it any lighter? It's a bit heavy.
Unfortunately not.
Perhaps a bag that holds things? But lighter?
Ignoring that, out of character.
Alright, fine. Yeah, I'll deal with it. You know, I've been meaning to build up the old muscle mass anyways. Books are only so heavy, you know. Good show, all that. I'll keep it with me. Am I expected to do anything with it anytime soon, or is this sort of another 60 years from now kind of thing? Because that's fine by me.
You will know what to do with it when the time comes, but for now, I would like you to return to the city as you are. Some things that you should know first. Be on the lookout for the 8 things needed to complete that artifact.
The 8 things? I imagine that he would actually pull out, like, one of his mini journals and, like, write this down.
Know that we stand at a point in history now that is most interesting. I fear it will not be such a long time before I call on you again, as things now are moving faster than they have in a long time. The last time things moved this fast was a time when gods and goddesses were very new to this universe that we live in.
That's a long time.
Things...
He's just furiously, like, scribbling down everything she says.
Things are changing in the world right now. I'm sure you've noticed the way in which magic is fading.
Certainly so. I've definitely noticed that. Even just by trying to teach students, it seems that children who haven't been born with an innate magical gift just aren't able to study it the way that they once were able to.
No.
Which certainly limits the pool of magic users.
These things are happening for a reason, and soon a time will come when many fates will intertwine, and the fate of many things that currently stand will be called into question.
Oh my. Well, never thought I'd get myself wrapped up into something like this, trying to get away from old grandmama, but here we are.
Your fate, it seems, and the line that you walk has been chosen. Lines of others, it seems, have been chosen as well, though not all have been chosen by me. So you stand at a very interesting point right now, where much will depend on you, and your fate and the fate of those that you meet are free of any sort of shackles that anyone could put on you, which makes you very unique, but they are also bound together to the fates of others around you. Maybe some that you've just met, and maybe some that you haven't even met quite yet.
Oh my.
Everything that happens next is up to you.
Well, that's a lot of pressure.
I would not have called out to you in the first place if I did not think you could handle it. And in acquiring this artifact for me, you've proven to me that you may yet be worthy of something of this nature.
Well, thank you.
2 pieces of advice before I send you back.
Yes. He's like patting sweat off his forehead.
When you return to the city, there are 2 you should be on the lookout for, whose fates that I know will be tied to yours and are tied to yours already. I want you to look, for they will be together, for the rat with the needle.
Okay.
And the demon with the twig.
Alright. So they're homeless. Sounds like they're homeless. He like mumbles that to himself. He hears like needle and twigs.
She smirks as she hears that.
Alright.
They will take you to a place, and you should follow them. I will be in contact when you need.
Okay. This is a lot of information to take in. Never thought our fates would be intertwined on such a sunny morning. Happy to help.
This is more than I would normally ask. The times are changing in this world that we live in right now. Many things which have not changed in hundreds or thousands of years are ripe for change, and things that have not changed since this young universe was born could potentially change as well. Worlds.
I bit my tongue, sorry.
Worlds, dimensions, planes of existence, even gods and goddesses themselves, even those more powerful than the gods and goddesses could change. Even I am not free entirely of the chaos that may soon follow.
Oh my.
So for now, though it may not be a message you expected to hear me preach, remember that as you meet those you have not met before, remember that no one and nothing is too far gone from both mercy and salvation as long as they are willing to accept it.
Yeah, his thoughts are definitely like going back to home, and he's just like, oh, but
she would see you doing this, and that may be something you might want to ask your new friends about. In fact, after all, you are all from the same place. Things there are not what they once were, and that is part of the change that is coming. I believe you could help instrument this. But for now,
speak to them more. He's like agreeing, like, yeah, he should.
You should go back to your friends. After all, they are waiting for you. She gestures towards the door again. As you turn to look, that no longer is a simple black darkness enveloping the door. You're looking out, and you can see the two of them kind of with their backs turned, you just sort of like looking off into the trees. As you go back to turn again, she's gone.
Well, this is what happens when you make... He's like muttering this under your breath. This is what happens when you make pacts with people you don't know. I have to uphold my honor. I'm a man of my honor. He's like mumbling that as like he's walking out and like walking by them. I'm a man of my honor. Must do this. Must do this. Oh, come on. Stiff upper lip, old chap. He's just like muttering TV tropes to himself.
Right. So as you reach back to your two companions, they look towards you. Twy is the first to speak. So, was there anything else that you needed while we were here, or was that all of the exercise you were planning for today?
Well, my thighs are pretty... They hurt very much. I don't usually go on this long of a trek. I suppose while we're making our way back to the city, if you would mind if I just... An old chap like me just asked what exactly is going on in the Underdark now that would make not only a male drow run, but a female as well. Just curious, not that I've been there. Never been to Rheinville Schmenzo Schmerenschmon.
Do you actually say that?
Yeah. You know,
thanks, I hate it. Like, as you mentioned the name, as much as you butcher it as you say it, both of their eyes sort of go wide a little bit, and Nox this time looks at you. You're from Menzo Baranzan? We had both just left that city not 2 years ago at this point.
He like just like he nods his head like so slightly, like
kind of like
it looks like he's vibrating.
Kind of like picking up on what you're doing now. Twy will be. How long ago has it been since you totally did not leave this city?
Well, since I moved from Waterdeep is further away from Baldur's Gate, right?
Yes.
It's been 60 years since I've moved from Waterdeep, so I don't know.
Waterdeep.
Yep, real deep. You get my meaning.
You said 60 years.
It's either 60 or 61. It's a bit fuzzy. Left when I was just a lad.
Regardless, much has changed in Waterdeep in those years. Things have become a lot more tense, so to speak.
Do you perhaps, just throwing this name out there, not that I'm familiar with them, are you anything about the Death family by chance? How are they doing? From Waterdeep, of course. If you're familiar with them, I don't know. Pretty big name.
Yes.
Are you He's just like...
What?
He's like pointing at them and like, oh wait, are you from there?
Are we from?
That name? That house?
No.
You're not friends with them, are you?
No.
Oh, okay,
Certainly
great.
not friends.
All right, cool. I'm just gonna choose to like trust that because I feel like anybody who's friends with them would be too proud to deny it.
Their house was thrown into a bit of an uproar, upon the disappearance and or death of, a member of.
Sorry, that's Audie laughing, not me.
Upon a member of the Quivarn family disappearing when they were supposed to marry someone of the Death family. Upon that disappearance, the Quivarn family sort of took that insult very much to heart.
Fendiun's keeping like a straight face the whole time, like.
And after that, things for the society as a whole began to slowly spiral downhill. The matriarch of the Quivarn family was very displeased upon that happening and sought
She's
to...
alive? Not that I would know. Are you getting Quivarn and Dath confused?
No. Out of character, no. They're talking about Quivarn. You mean... Did you know, I'm terribly sorry if you did, but it would be hard to live in that city and not know Nendrith Quivarn. Yes, she still remains the matriarch of...
In Giant, I said, cut her fucking head off. Oh my god, she's still alive.
I'm sorry.
Oh, sorry, just had a slip of the mind.
Are you well?
I just imagine it looks like his all of his expressions play in reverse. I'm fine. I'm good. Nothing. Waterdeep was just curious about trade with the Drow houses is all. You know, as the Death family made very good strides in trading with the overworld. That's all I care about. Anyways, we should get out of here and we should go back and other than the fishery, never tell anybody that you met me. Okay, let's go. I'm gonna start lunging away because I'm absolutely terrified finding out that the person whose head I cut off is still alive.
They follow you, like kind of close behind, Nox adding, but in case you were curious, upon that whole scene sort of playing out, the house Quivarn began to take a very interesting sort of visitor, maybe 15 years ago. Though things were tense for the time after that event happened, it wasn't until 15 years ago that this visitor came around and things began to really change. All of the sudden, a lot more of her ideas for the Drow society seemed to find more traction than they had beforehand, and things grew more and more tense, especially for the Drow men of the city. And then eventually, for the lesser houses, it did not matter man or woman, things began to become a lot worse situation there as well. And then
He's doing this.
by the time that we decided to leave, anyone not of House Quevarin was essentially disposable, lesser.
Oh, that's not very good. For people who live down there, good thing I don't. Oh.
So by the time we left, it sort of seemed less of the matriarchy and more of an entire city for her, which we have no idea what suddenly sparked all of the other matriarchs to surrender power to her, but it did not happen until a stranger in a black cloak suddenly began to make visits to her house.
Did the stranger in a black cloak have tentacle mouth?
My sister was the only one who got close enough to see even a little bit under the hood, and at this point, I would say, he looked human, which was weird. He certainly was not an elf, and certainly not a drow.
And certainly not.
Certainly no tentacles.
Oh, this is terrible news. Everything I just heard today is terrible. Oh my goodness, everything is falling apart. Not that it matters to me, because I live in a library. Anyways, alright, just gonna... Nothing. Thank you for that information. Happy to help you live in the city. Oh.
Happy to get out of there while we could, though. I shudder to think what could happen to those still back in the Underdark.
Me too. If I cared about the Underdark, which I don't.
But do you care about Waterdeep?
I care very deeply about Waterdeep. I care very deeply about it. Oh, one must make jokes in trying times, shan't we? Alright, okay, let's go. We're walking.
As you walk back to Baldur's Gate, is there anything else that you would say, any other conversation you would have, or would he just be silent the whole time?
Just not to interact with me in the city unless it's, like, urgent, and it's not me trying to be rude, it's me, like, trying to, like, cover their tails.
Right, so...
I let them know I'm not trying to be, like, rude if I, like, ignore them in the city, but, like... Other than, like, using my name to get into the fishery, try not to have too much contact with me unless I reach out to them.
Alright, so they would reach the gates of the city then. They would stop and thank you for your assistance.
Oh, also, since we've gotten, like, closer to the city, I would put the tablet thing in my bag.
I figured, yeah, you said that. Well, thank you for all of your help in meeting us here.
I shake their hands. Well, totally good.
Right, we will be going on our way then. Good luck with your exercise program.
Thank you. Good luck with the fishing. If all goes well, you won't really see me again. The nicest way possible. I'm going home now.
They both sort of shrug and begin to kind of walk off in an opposite direction from you, kind of like along. I would imagine like you kind of like get to the bridge and they sort of like slow down, sort of like check out what it is around them as you kind of like walk away from them. They sort of like, once they see you're like 10 or 15 feet away, kind of like lean into each other and say a couple of things in Undercommon. If you would like, you can roll a perception check if you want to try and listen into what they're saying.
Just because I'm curious, yeah. But like, he's not trying incredibly hard to listen. Yeah. It's just kind of like if you can catch it. So 16.
16. I would say that's enough to make at least the first couple sentences. So you would hear Nox. It's kind of strange, but I didn't completely mind him. And then Twyback is just, yeah, I mean, definitely seems like he wasn't like a lot of the ones that we knew down there. And then it knocks back one last time. It's just, any idea what family he might have been a part of down there? I still can't help but think that he looks really familiar.
Nope, he don't.
And then Twy leaning back again is just, no, he doesn't really look that familiar, to be honest. I think I would have remembered seeing someone like that down in the Underdark. If it wasn't for the facial hair, we'd almost be cute. And then
he's just like always twirling his stupid handlebar mustache. Or not handlebar, sorry, the curly boy.
And then upon that, they get kind of too far away for you to listen to anything more.
That's fine. They're probably gonna be like, his outfit's ugly as shit.
Alright, so then as you walk along the bridge, you are making your way towards the other side of it. Anything you're doing as you're walking across, or just sort of?
I guess I just make sure I'm not being followed, and then I head on. Oh, actually, I would like let the fishery know, the Moonlight Fishery, because considering that like they all follow my religion. I feel like that's something that they should be filled in on, or at least the head moon elf lady. I would just let her know that that's a thing that I have.
Got you.
And to look out for the drow.
So you're heading towards the fishery?
Yeah.
I would say you reach kind of the entrance to the docks,
Mm-hmm.
and eventually kind of like you see the ending bits of kind of a commotion. You kind of see like a couple of city guards slowly like in flaming fists who are like the private guard of the city kind of like making their way from that area and sort of standing like leaning against a bridge, kind of like taking like a deep breath. Seemingly maybe were once centered around this commotion are a rat ferox holding a short sword and a tiefling holding a staff.
I'm like, oh, isn't this just great? The homeless people are there on my way to do Shard's doing. Well, 2 birds with 1 stone. 2 rats with 1 stone, I should say. Oh, what? I'm like talking to myself as I'm heading over that way. I'm like, how convenient.
So you approach them?
Yeah.
Alright, for that we will need to take a slight pause as we bring in 2 more characters.
If you enjoyed this video, please like, comment, and subscribe. We will be live streaming November 9th at twitch.tv/toughdnd. For more updates and content from us, check us out at Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram. They're all at toughdnd. Links in the description. So from all of us here at The Unlucky Few, thank you so much for watching, and we will see you next time. Goodbye. Hi, I messed up 3 times in a row, so